anytime you have a high-producing animal, so whether a pig is growing fast or if a sow is producing the litter, you have a lot of consumption of feedstuffs for energy. And when you generate a lot of energy in the body, you get what you call a leakage of electrons in your cells. And that can cause what we call oxidative stress in the animal, which could lower productivity for the animal.
What can biomarkers tell us about animal physiology? That's the subject we are going to discuss in this episode of Future Feed Talks. My name is Iris Hoffman and I'm editor at Misat International Media, and this series is in cooperation with DSM-Firmenich Animal Nutrition and Health. We are discussing the efficiency of biomarkers with research animal scientist Dr. Kerr. He grew up on a cash grain and swine farm in West Central Illinois, and he obtained his PhD from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in 1988, and he has a lifetime of experience in animal nutrition. Hello, Dr. Kerr. Good to see you here at Future Feed Talks. Like I said in my introduction, you have a lot of experience in nutrition, especially pig nutrition. What makes you so excited about swine production?
Well, I grew up on a small farm in Western Illinois. I raised pigs in my younger days, but I've always enjoyed agriculture and livestock, both swine and poultry. And for all my 3 jobs as my current position, I've worked very closely with livestock producers and the field of nutritionists in animal species.
Exactly. And let's talk a little bit more. You are doing a talk here at the World Nutrition Forum in Cancun. That's about biomarkers and how it can help with animal physiology. What are your main focus in that?
Probably the closest thing to relate it to is what markers do we see in the blood or other biological tissues that can be an indicator of stress, that can be an indicator of disease, and ultimately an indicator of how well an animal is going to perform to produce meat, milk, or eggs. For in case of swine, it would be meat production, or also for milk production for growing piglets.
Yeah, so that's what the biomarkers are focusing on?
The biomarkers themselves would focus on something related within the body, some physiological measure that in my case would be like oxidative stress measures that are then related to a production type parameter or a disease parameter or a stress parameter.
Exactly. And can you give an example or how that would work?
So some of the research I've been involved with, we could feed a damaged lipid, for example, and that lipid could cause a physiological response in the animal, and that could affect the lipids within the cells of the body, the DNA in the body, or proteins in the body. And if you disrupt those, you subsequently disrupt the function of enzymes, et cetera, in the body, which ultimately would affect animal performance. Likewise, another example that I'll use during my presentation is anytime you have a high-producing animal, so whether a pig is growing fast or if a sow is producing the litter, you have a lot of consumption of feedstuffs for energy. And when you generate a lot of energy in the body, you get what you call a leakage of electrons in your cells. And that can cause what we call oxidative stress in the animal, which could lower productivity for the animal.
And how can that help in different fields?
If we can understand the underlying mechanisms causing that stress, and then how to potentially alleviate that stress in the animal, that would allow us opportunities to improve productivity, improve sustainability. It would also allow us knowing mechanisms which to help prevent the negative impact that this stress would have back on the animal.
Sounds like there is still a lot to be discovered about this.
Yes. One thing I've learned in the past 35 plus years of being a scientist, the more you've learned, is seemingly the less you know. Mm-hmm. As you dig into it more, you dig into literature, really trying to understand basic biological mechanisms. And then I'm very upfront or understanding of the industry to know that the producer needs to understand how to alleviate. So it's got a producer practicality to alleviate the problem, but also a scientific biological basis. And those have to meet up to help solve the problem. The bottom line is to solve potential problems in livestock production.
So what is the biggest challenge right now?
Well, there's multiple challenges. Depends what avenue you want to look at. If you're looking at general productivity of the animal, you're looking at in sows, trying to keep breeding sows within the swine herd. In the United States, we have a high turnover of sows. What are the mechanisms causing that? Can we help alleviate that with knowledge and feedstuffs or management? Anytime you have a disease or a heat stress situation, that is a challenge to try to alleviate, either through management practices, or is there, in my case, something nutritional that we could have in the diet that would kind of help counteract the impacts of heat stress or disease stress back on the animal.
Exactly. And what would you hope that it's going to be possible with this?
Well, the bottom line is to keep animals in the herd longer or to improve productivity, both of which you could involve or develop into the sustainability to have less environmental impact. So the hope is by understanding some of the biological system, can we through nutrition modulate that to help the animal stay productive longer, stay in the herd, or produce more meat, milk, or eggs, something like that nature.
Yeah, and right now, is it already showing?
It's showing that it's very complicated, as you'd expect. The hope is there would be one marker that you could say, this is the one, you only have to look at that. But if you think of the animal or the human, it's a very complex biological system. So you may affect one component of physiology, but another component might be hindered. So it's really looking at multiple components of the animal, physiology and biochemically, of how it reacts to, for example, an environmental stress or a disease stress. Yes, I think we're making progress. Some of the markers we have looked at, for example, a DNA, a protein, or lipid damage in the body, they seem to be very variable or random at times. But a couple key components we've looked at, which really relates to DSM per se, is a couple of the markers is really vitamin levels in the blood that seem to be coming out as extremely important that we need better understanding on. Yeah, so we're learning some aren't quite so important. I'm suggesting some may be more important than we thought of in the past.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot to be discovered. Very exciting.
Yes.
To sum up, what is your main message?
Well, again, I think the main message that I'm looking at and have come to thinking is some of the measures of damage which we look at is already after the fact that it's happened. And some of the data would suggest that vitamin A, vitamin E, and vitamin C, key vitamins that are associated with how the animal can relate to stress within the body, might be more important markers than we thought of in the past. And we really need to look into those more of how the animal adapts to its environment.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Dr. Kerr. And this was this episode of Future Feed Talks. Do you want to see more of this or listen to the podcast? Click on the links under this video.